Welcome back to the Wii Music Iceberg, Part 2. If you haven't seen the first part, what are you doing here? Just watch the first part first. Layer 4. Chord parts that resemble the melody. In the songs Sakura Sakura and Wii Music, the chord parts are essentially just the melody with some adjustments, at least in some parts of the songs. This means that you can use the chord part to essentially make a louder version of the melody like I did in Akatsuki's version of the Wii Music theme. Many songs have the chord play melody at the start, but these two songs take this concept to the extreme. Olé and Check It Out. These two entries are fairly obvious despite being so low on the iceberg, with the castanets by holding A on the Wii remote or C on the nunchuck. Your Mii will say Olé, meaning hey in Spanish. With the rapper instrument, by holding B or Z, your Mii will say check it out. The reason these entries are here is because these vocals are the only two things in the game that contain actual words. Maybe the U on the taiko means something in Japanese, but it could just be an exclamation like whoa. I guess you could say the same about the singer, since do and we are actual words, but it is obvious that the singer isn't literally using the English words do or we. If anything, it's just as likely that the we is we, the Scottish English we, or even the French we. Oh, and also the cheerleader has vocals that say like go. Peter on tambourine and Natalie on drums. There are multiple unused styles in which Natalie uses the basic drum set. Unfortunately, there is no way to make Natalie play the drum set in the actual game. Peter never uses the tambourine, not even in any unused styles, which is really weird. His entry is one of the more speculative ones. I'm going to be saying that a lot because I don't know why, but I just do. It is more or less an indirect statement about how there's so many arbitrary rules when it comes to what instruments the toots can play. Peter on tambourine is one of the big no-nos. Fortunately, they didn't force the player to abide by such arbitrary restrictions. Mario Kart 7 Music Park. In Mario Kart 7, there's a track called Music Park, in which the racer drives on a course with many musical instruments, as well as some sentient bouncing notes. This course may or may not be based on Wii Music. Some evidence in favor of this is that the ticking in the bouncing notes section sounds nearly identical to the ticking of the bebops in Wii Music, and the keyboard sections bear some similarities to the instrument sounds in Wii Music. In addition, the bouncing notes themselves are suspiciously similar to the bebops. I remember the Mario Wiki saying this track was based on Wii Music, but it doesn't say that anymore. I think I might have actually put that there since I actually edited the Mario Wiki when I was little. As far as I can remember, the only edits of mine that survived for long were the ones about the Wario Land Shake It escape sequence songs. I don't know why I remember this. Feminine vocals that are just high-pitched male ones. Unfortunately, some of the female vocals in this game are the same as the male ones, except with a higher pitch. The only exception is the singer and maybe the maracas. It might be a stretch, but I think there might be sociological factors at play here. Possibly the video games are for boys crap, or just like the fact that like some people think like subconsciously like men are like the default gender and women are like secondary. Like, not to say that they're bad people, but like there's like some people who are like affected by like, you know, stuff. Alternatively, the vocals might have simply been added later in development. Scary sounds on certain instruments. If you played Wii Music as a kid, you probably know what I'm talking about. You remember the first time you heard the taiko U in instrument improv, or the first time you chose the bass piano out of curiosity? Considering how widespread the piano is, it is unusual that the bass piano would have such a harsh sound. It almost reminds me of that horrifying Wii crash sound. This is not to say that the bass piano is bad. Hell, I even used it in some of my videos, such as the Red Danube. The gong on the bass drum also comes to mind. YouTubers who disappeared. In the original video's comments, Eric Goebel suggested that I put certain YouTubers, such as So Many Chicken Wings and Dr. J. Wee, on this iceberg due to the fact that they stopped making videos seemingly out of nowhere, possibly due to being bored with the game. I did put multiple YouTubers on this list, especially in the lower area, but I did not want to make this iceberg too messy, so I merged many of them into one entry, which is this one. JJ's feminine voice and I'll Be There. In the song I'll Be There, the harmony to JJ has a feminine voice, possibly so that his voice harmonizes better with Susie's. Aside from Pitch Perfect, this seems to be the only way that a male character can have a female voice. Not sure how they coded this though. My best guess is that since toots seem to use me data. Oh yeah, they do. I found that out on this Tumblr post. Judging by how they have favorite colors, the JJ in I'll Be There is technically different from the JJ in other songs. The big question is, if you get a cappella I'll Be There and Quick Jam, does JJ still have a feminine voice? Bars of 2-4 or maybe 2-2, I don't know. In the song's Woman in Wii music, there are moments where the first two bebops jump, but the last two don't. This is so that they line up with the transitions in the music. This can unfortunately throw off your rhythm if you aren't paying enough attention. This is actually based on a comment that Kozakura made on my Cakewalk video, where I mentioned that I thought the entertainer was in 2-4, but apparently the bebops are actually accurate. I thought it was just because it was... I didn't know that like they would actually be completely accurate. Anyways, me vocals and Toots voice actor. The vocals for the Me's and Toots, as well as Party Phil, we're going to be mentioning Party Phil a lot. I probably said that in the last video. Sound very human-like, so it is likely that they are actually voiced by real people. Unfortunately, googling Party Phil voice actor or Toots voice actor doesn't seem to give any results. Since the Toots and Party Phil play such important roles in their games, I'd imagine their voice actors would be professionals rather than just a random developer with no voice acting experience, unlike, say, Morshu in CDI Zelda. I don't know if Morshu is actually voiced by just a random guy or an actual voice actor, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was just a random guy. Toots based on real musicians. The Toots designs seem to be reminiscent of actual people who existed in history. Sebastian Toot is obviously based on someone like Mozart, so, though his design could also be said to resemble a non-musician like George Washington due to the hairstyles that existed at the time. JJ seems to be based on 70s and 80s stars like Lou Bega. For Peter, it's a bit harder to say, but he seems to resemble Spanish nobility. Pedro Toot is probably the hardest. If I had to guess, I'd say he simply looks like a college student. There are probably a lot of musicians who had friends that looked like Pedro back in their college days. Despite the entry's name, aside from Sebastian, I'm not sure if the Toots are based on specific people or just general archetypes. Unnamed Me's and promotional material. This is another entry suggested to me by Eric. Apparently, in the promotional material for the game, there are 2 Me's who never appear. Actually, I think he might have meant 3 instead of 2, because he says one has Brock's hair, one has big lips, and one has gray hair and sunglasses. This is actually connected to another entry deeper in the Iceberg. If I wasn't so lazy, I'd provide images of these Me's. If you have any images of them, let me know. I do not know remotely as much about CPU Me's as my own audience does. I only really know the basics like Matt, Andy, Tommy, Elisa, Abby, Shinosuke, Saburo, Sakura, Chowda, etc. Bass part playing wrong notes. According to Blissey the Blackberry Koopa, the bass part sometimes plays wrong notes when you tap on one of your songs in the library. I think I've had this happen, but it might just be an auditory illusion since the piece of the song that you hear when tapping on its icon always starts abruptly. Layer 5, where it gets really weird. Actually, you could say that about every layer from now on. Okay, this one's just kind of another one of those minor details. Party Phil Wii U mouth movement. For an Iceberg about Wii music, we're sure talking a lot about Wii Party. Anyways, this is more or less a small detail that is hidden in plain sight. Unlike in Wii Party and Wii Party U, Party Phil's head doesn't flop quite as much when talking as it did in the original Wii Party. This probably means that if Wii Music U were a thing, the Toots would have also had this new mouth movement. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Unused cover backgrounds. Here's yet another entry suggested by Eric. Apparently, somewhere in the game's files, there are 7 unused album cover backgrounds. Of these unused covers, 4 of them depict actual stages, specifically Music Mountain, Sweet Stage, Harmony High Rise, and Galactic Voyage, and 3 of them are just placeholders. There isn't really much more to say, but I know that y'all love the unused content stuff. Normal drums. For seemingly no reason at all, in drum mode, free play, the basic drums are called normal drums. This is yet another example of a small oddity that is hidden in plain sight. You'd think something like this would appear earlier on the Iceberg, but I have found that most people don't really notice such small details. In addition, I've seen small details like this appear on lower layers in many different Icebergs. Instrument improv uses actual songs. So, I have thought about this for as long as I can remember, quite literally, since I can't really remember anything before 2012. When I play with the Toots and Instrument Improv, I almost always hear traces of certain songs like Troika and Legend of Zelda. Apparently this mode actually does use real songs. I can't find the video, but I swear I remember seeing a video showcasing Remajor in which the player went into Play with Toots mode and something like Megalovania started playing. JC Rodrigo's presentation. It is a great shame that this has to be so low on the... My tablet makes that noise all the time. Apparently, this guy called JC Rodrigo made a presentation about Wii Music in which he demonstrates how the game is played. I don't feel the need to watch the presentation since I know how to play this game, but apparently he actually does an astronomically better job at showing how to play this game than the clowns at E3. If only this presentation were the one that went viral and not the E3 one. Locations of the stages. Pretty much every Iceberg has to have something like this on it. Since the tutorials in this game mostly take place in Music Mountain, it seems to be an important area to the Toots. Music Mountain also resembles the area that Strategy Steps in Wii Party takes place in. In addition, none of the stages take place in an environment explicitly different from the grassy area of Music Mountain, except for the truck stage. Harmony High Rise and the Music Room are all likely close, since both take place in buildings. This all depends on how large Music Land is. It can't be that big if the Toots can move from place to place on a regular basis. Why the guitar is never used as the melody. You could probably tell that I'm good at noticing small details. For literally no reason whatsoever, none of the styles, including the Quick Jam styles, or any of the default songs, use the acoustic guitar for the melody. The reason this is weird is because the acoustic guitar is one of the most popular instruments in the world. To be fair, this is not the only guitar type that isn't used for the melody. Actually, only the electric guitar, sitar, and ukulele are ever used for the melody. The harmony, on the other hand, does occasionally use the acoustic guitar, such as in Chariots of Fire. The harmony also uses the banjo, jaw harp, galactic guitar, and even the shamisen in the Japanese menu song. Ranking matters more than date. This is something that you'll only find out the hard way. Even if you have 99 songs from 2008 that are all ranked 100, if you make one song with a ranking of less than 100, it's going straight to the abyss as soon as your next song is made. On the other hand, if for whatever reason your song isn't actually ranked at all, possibly due to turning off the game before ranking it, it will be preserved forever until you give it a ranking and or just delete it. This is why the advertiser-friendly cover of the Wii Sports theme does not use the actual music video. It was deleted since I gave it a ranking of 69 points. This could have happened with a little Bulgarian music since I accidentally gave it a ranking of 99, but I decided to record it immediately after making it. Sitar and djembe are not used in default songs. Not all instruments are used in the default songs. Of course, certain ones like the rapper, karate guy, cheerleader, dog suit, and cat suit make sense, since those are silly instruments, but the sitar and djembe are completely normal instruments that just are not used in any of the default songs. Sure, there aren't any Indian or West African songs in this game, but it makes just about as much sense to use these instruments in non-Indian and non-African songs as it does to make Ode to Joy and From the New World sound Latin American. Even the toy piano of all instruments gets used in Oh My Darling Clementine. However, the sitar and djembe are at least used in Quick Jam. In fact, I'm pretty sure any instrument can show up in Quick Jam. Early Mii designs. According to Eric, many of the CPU Miis in Wii Music had different designs early on, and some had different names. For example, Corey was named Peter and had 3 different designs. I've probably said this a bunch of times now, but I'm no expert on CPU Miis. I almost said memes. So I'm not sure how to tell the difference between unused Miis and early CPU Mii designs, unless it is just speculation based on similar design. Triangle in Super Mario Bros. There is a triangle instrument in Mii Maestro, but not in Jam mode. However, there is an unused version of the Super Mario Bros. Theme in which a triangle can be heard, suggesting that the triangle was planned for Jam mode. I honestly don't know why they didn't add this in the final game, especially considering how iconic the triangle is. Fortunately, you can emulate the sound of the triangle by holding A with the Wiro. Herman Miller being mentioned on Wikipedia. There are multiple pages that mention him, but the first one I found was the page for the Origin Systems computer game Times of Lore, listing Herman Miller as one of the composers. specifically for the DOS version, though this is not specified on the page. If you look up Herman Miller video game music on YouTube, you can find his page on the Video Game Music Wiki, showing that the Herman Miller who worked for Origin Systems is indeed the same one who made all those Wii music videos. Songs that don't begin with circular bebops. Actually, I made a mistake here. It doesn't do that in Troika, but there's another song that does it, and I forgot what it was. If you tell me, let me know if you know what song it is, let me know in the comments. Anyways, before the song begins, the bebops are always circular. However, in some songs, the bebops immediately change to square. Wait, I accidentally said circle, I meant triangle. Or triangle as soon as the song begins. This seems to happen often with songs that are in the same genre as tutorial songs, but aren't actually used in the tutorials. I think the Flea Waltz does it, not Troika. Small details that most people don't notice for the win. Pitch perfect, unnecessarily difficult. I can't even put into words how unnecessarily difficult pitch perfect is. When I was little, I thought it was just difficult because all games were difficult to me at the time. However, from watching some videos about the mode, it still looks difficult. How the hell are you supposed to tell which 3 accordions make the same harmony as the 3 harpsichords that play on the speaker? In addition, at the end of each level, you have to move Mii's around to replicate a melody, which is just as annoying as the previous thing I mentioned. This would all be okay if it wasn't for these 2 things. 1, you have a time limit, and 2, you need to complete every single level to unlock the music room. They had literally no reason to make this mode so much harder than every other mode in the game, but they did for some reason. Layer 6. Accessories made for Wii Music. Self-explanatory. From a quick Google search, you can find many different accessories for the Wii Remote and Nunchuck that are meant for Wii Music. These accessories make your Wii Remote look like different instruments such as a saxophone, violin, trumpet, etc. I'm not sure if any of these accessories are actually official though. I don't own any of them, but I'm just going to assume that they do not actually help you play the game and may in fact make it more difficult. The saxophone one makes it harder to press the 1 and 2 buttons, judging by its appearance. The last song that was shared online. This is based on an entry from the Mario Kart Wii Iceberg about the last online match that was played before the shutdown of Wii Connect 24. I highly doubt that there is actually footage of the last song that was shared online in Wii Music, though. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if not a single song was shared on the day Wii Connect 24 shut down. Either way, at some point, there was a song that was shared that just so happened to be the last one that was ever shared. Or was there? More on that later. Default Mii's with different heights and files. Oh, I just had to edit this one because it's another suggestion from Eric, and I don't think he specified that these Mii's control the tube data or whatever, but they do. And yeah, by default Mii's, I don't mean CPU Mii's. I literally mean the default unedited male and female Mii's. In this game's files, there are 7 default Mii's. That is already weird, but what's even weirder is that they all have different heights and favorite colors than the actual default Mii's. Apparently, these Mii's are what controls the favorite colors and genders of the two. The way I worded it sounds like I said favorite genders, but no, I mean favorite colors and just their gender, not favorite gender. Mario outfit myth. You've probably seen this before. If you search Wii Music How to Unlock, the Game Facts page will erroneously state that by meeting certain conditions, you can unlock a Mario outfit. There is also one about an angel outfit. The myth itself is not that obscure, but the origin is uncertain. I don't think the people who made the Game Facts page were intentionally lying, since most of the information on there is true. I think it might be one of those playground myths where a person says something like, "I unlocked a Mario outfit in Wii Music by doing blah blah blah," and the other person believes them and spreads the myth. Either that, or it really was just a troll trying to get someone to waste a few minutes of their life. To be fair, trolling was more lighthearted back in 2008, when it was mostly associated with silly tricks rather than doxing and racism. Don, Naoko, and Ross. This is connected to the 2 or 3 unnamed Mii's and promotional art thing. The CPU Mii's Don, Naoko, and Ross show up in the finished game, but not in the promotional material. Eric suggests that Don, Naoko, and Ross were added later in development and replaced those unnamed Mii's for some reason. Maybe they just didn't like those unused Mii's, or maybe they had a limit on how many CPU Mii's there can be. Harmony High-Rise Negative Emotional Aura. Oh boy. Ah yes, the Negative Emotional Aura entry. It's extremely common on Iceberg charts, but it works every time. Anyways, the stage Harmony High-Rise takes place in a hotel or apartment building at night, probably an apartment building since a large percentage of Japanese people live in apartments rather than houses. This is the thing with negative emotional aura entries. The areas are usually not explicitly creepy or unsettling, but just something about them makes them feel creepy. Hazy Maze Cave and Wet Dry World in Mario 64 can be said to have a negative aura, but you can't really say the same about Big Boo's Haunt, because it's obviously supposed to be like that. Anyways, it might just be me, but Harmony High-Rise just seems to be a bit unsettling, especially without music. I think it's because it simply looks like something straight out of Luigi's Mansion, since it is very green and has those old-looking paintings that sometimes start spinning. Guitar Micro Tonality. This is basically copied from the description of one of Herman Miller's covers of Do Re Mi. As the game tells you, you can change the pitch of the guitar by moving the nunchuck joystick. Now, you may expect that holding the joystick in one place will just change the key of the song. However, it does not do that. Instead, it gives you access to microtones, which are intervals, I don't know what that means, that fall outside the typical 12 Western intervals. I don't really know what microtonality is, but it sounds cool and also very East Asian. Desde Santurce, I don't know how to pronounce anything in Castilian Spanish. Wii Music's version of From Santurce to Bilbao was many people's first and often last exposure to that song. When I was little, I thought that this song was just made up by Nintendo, since searching From Santurce to Bilbao on Google only leads to Wii Music version. Well, actually, the first thing it shows you is how long it takes to go from Santurce to Bilbao, because those are places. The song is actually a real Spanish folk song, which can be found by searching its Spanish name. It is unusual that Nintendo would refer to this song by a title it was never known by until Wii Music, especially considering how some songs like La Cucaracha and, I don't know how to pronounce French, let me try, Sur le Pont d'Avignon, retain their original titles in the English version. Hansken Klein, Hansken Small, Hansken is a diminutive form of Hans, like Hansi. Let me know if my German pronunciation was correct. Is the original title of a song Little Hans. This is the same situation with Desde Santurce al Bilbao. This song is almost never referred to as Little Hans except for in Wii Music. The weird part is that even the Spanish version of Wii Music refers to this song with its original German title. However, unlike Desde Santurce al Bilbao, there actually is an English version of the song that is called Little Hans, and it was uploaded by a small kids channel known as EBS Kids. Michael Tottori. Oh boy, this is a big one. So, there's footage of the beta version of Wii Music, which can be found on Atom Crossing's channel. One of the most notable things in this video is that in the bottom right corner, there's a conductor me with an afro, playing the role that Sebastian Toot in the Bebops would play in the actual game. As usual, when the internet saw this random unused character, he became the talk of the town in some circles, even having fan art made of him. More on that later. Do note that his Japanese name was actually Sebastian Tottori, but he's usually referred to as Michael Tottori, probably because Sebastian Tottori sounds too similar to Sebastian Toot. Third, Percussion. Remember that unused Twinkle Twinkle Salsa rendition that I talked about earlier on this Iceberg? An observant listener will note that there are actually 3 percussions in this rendition: the maracas, congas, and reggae drums. This, and some other unused songs, could suggest that a third percussion slot could have been planned for the game. Either that, or these songs might have been meant for a mode that didn't end up in the final release. Drums free play negative aura. Here's another negative aura entry. In the drums free play, there's just something unsettling about seeing nothing but the Mii's ball hands playing the drums, as well as an audience who's completely silent until you start playing. It's even worse when you turn off the audience. Red drums. In the drum mode tutorials, Peter uses red drums, which are, aside from their appearance, completely identical to the basic drums. The model for these is just as fleshed out as the models for the rest of the basic drums, and there's probably a remade texture mod that allows you to actually use the red drums What's strange is that these red drums are only used in drum mode tutorials, and Peter uses the regular blue basic drums in every other case. Maybe he just doesn't use the red drums often because they're special and he can't risk damaging them. Among Us. You'll know this one if you're someone who speedruns Pitch Perfect. One of the prompts that may show up for which tune fits this feeling is, "So the thief is right here among us?" Man, it's ridiculous how a phrase as basic as Among Us can be permanently corrupted thanks to a game that suddenly became popular because in 2020, some streamers who played Henry Stickmin decided to Google Inner Sloth and found that they had a game called Among Us. Anyways, it's kind of weird that the word among is emphasized instead of right here, almost as if they knew the word would become funny in the future. Calypso Style and From Santurce to Bilbao Style are not the same. Small detail. For some reason, in Quick Jam, the Calypso Style is just steel drums without any percussion. The style used in From Santurce to Bilbao, on the other hand, uses the tambourine and hand clap as the percussion, which is not only an unusual combination, it doesn't strike me as Calypso. Come to think of it, nothing about the Calypso style is Calypso except for the use of steel drums. A quick Google search shows that Calypso music also uses trumpets, saxophones, maracas, claves, and bongos. To be fair, claves and bongos are not in this game, but they could have just used congas instead. I forgot what a clave was, but I think it's kind of similar to castanets. Thanks for watching. Holy shit, this video is long.